An investment decision can end on the day you sell, yet its consequences can remain with you for years. That is one of the least discussed realities of investing. The decision that stays with you is not always the investment that lost the most money. Sometimes it is the investment you sold too early and watched continue rising. Sometimes it is the opportunity you understood but never acted upon. Sometimes it is the position you held because admitting uncertainty felt harder than accepting risk. And sometimes the decision leaves no financial scar at all, yet permanently changes the way you think about money. Why do certain investment decisions become unforgettable? Because investing is not only the management of capital, it is also the management of memory, identity, probability, and regret. Every decision is made with incomplete information, but afterward the mind sees what happened and creates the illusion that the outcome should have been obvious. This is hindsight bias. Once the future becomes visible, the past appears easier to predict than it actually was. An investor may look back at a successful business, a major technological transformation, or a market recovery and think, I should have known. But knowing the outcome afterward is fundamentally different from allocating capital before the outcome existed. That distinction matters because one bad experience can quietly redesign future behavior. Imagine an investor who sells an asset before a major rise. The financial loss may only be the missed opportunity, but the psychological consequence can become much larger. The next time a position rises, that investor may refuse to take profits for fear of repeating the earlier mistake. A previous decision then begins influencing a completely different decision. This is how investment memory can become an invisible risk management system, or an invisible source of distortion. The same mechanism works after losses. If someone experiences a sharp decline and recovers quickly afterward, the lesson they remember may be, holding always works. If someone experiences a permanent loss, the lesson may become, investing is dangerous. Neither conclusion necessarily describes the entire financial reality. A single emotional experience can be given more importance than a wider range of evidence. That is why stock market engineering begins with a difficult question: are you building a process, or are you repeatedly negotiating with your memories? A process does not eliminate uncertainty. It gives uncertainty boundaries. Before committing capital, an investor can consider why the position exists, what conditions would challenge the original thesis, how much loss or volatility is realistically tolerable, how the position relates to other holdings, and whether the decision depends upon a prediction or a range of possible outcomes. The purpose is not to guarantee a correct result. It is to prevent the outcome from being the only measure of whether the original decision was reasonable. This becomes especially important when technology changes the speed of information. Artificial intelligence can process enormous quantities of data, identify patterns, improve research, and automate parts of analysis. Yet faster analysis does not automatically remove the oldest problem in investing: nobody receives complete knowledge of the future. In fact, greater access to information can create a new form of overconfidence. When analysis becomes easier to generate, investors may mistake the quantity of explanation for the quality of certainty. A detailed argument can still be wrong. A sophisticated model can still depend on assumptions that reality later changes. So what remains valuable when information becomes abundant? Judgment. Judgment asks not only, what could happen, but also, what happens to me if I am wrong? This moves investing away from the search for perfect prediction and toward resilience. Diversification, liquidity, position sizing, and patience can all be understood through this principle. They acknowledge that even a well-researched decision can encounter an unexpected outcome. The objective is not necessarily to avoid every mistake. It is to avoid allowing one mistake to determine the entire financial future. Cash flow also changes the emotional meaning of an investment decision. An investor who may need capital soon can experience market volatility very differently from an investor whose essential expenses are supported independently. The same price movement can feel like an emergency to one person and ordinary uncertainty to another. This is why personal cash flow, debt obligations, and financial commitments can affect investment behavior even when they appear unrelated to market analysis. Financial engineering, therefore, begins partly outside the portfolio. If your investments must constantly finance immediate obligations, you may be forced to sell at times chosen by circumstances rather than judgment. If liquidity is available for essential needs, investment decisions may be given more time to develop. This does not make any investment safe, but it can reduce the pressure to convert temporary uncertainty into an immediate decision. The psychology becomes even more complex when identity enters the picture. People do not always defend an investment because the evidence remains strong. Sometimes they defend it because the investment has become connected to being intelligent, successful, early, courageous, or financially knowledgeable. Selling can then feel like more than changing a position. It can feel like admitting something about oneself. Humility is therefore an underrated financial skill. A humble investor can say, my original reasoning may need revision. That does not require constant buying and selling. It requires distinguishing conviction from ego. Conviction remains open to evidence. Ego often demands that evidence eventually agree with the original decision. History repeatedly shows that economic systems, industries, technologies, and social behavior change. Some changes are gradual, while others arrive faster than most participants expect. Lifelong learning matters because investment knowledge cannot remain entirely separate from the world investments exist within. Understanding technological transformation, productivity, demographics, consumption, energy, education, and changing human behavior can help an investor ask better questions about the future. Yet broader knowledge also creates another responsibility: knowing what you do not understand. This is where the qualities associated with Lord Hanuman offer practical perspective. His strength was joined with discipline. His courage was not careless action. His devotion gave direction to immense capability, while humility prevented strength from becoming arrogance. Applied to investing, courage may mean examining a position honestly when the facts become uncomfortable. Discipline may mean following a carefully considered process when excitement or fear encourages impulsive action. Humility may mean continuing to learn rather than assuming previous success proves permanent understanding. And self-mastery may mean recognizing that the greatest danger in a difficult moment can sometimes be the reaction of one's own mind. The Bhagavad Gita also offers a relevant distinction between action and attachment to results. In investing, outcomes matter because capital is genuinely at risk. Yet complete attachment to a single outcome can damage judgment. A person may act carefully, research responsibly, manage risk thoughtfully, and still encounter an unfavorable result because the future contains factors beyond individual control. The lesson is not indifference toward results. It is responsibility toward the quality of the decision. Perhaps that is why the investment decisions that stay with you deserve to be studied carefully. Regret can become useful when it teaches process rather than self-punishment. A missed opportunity can teach patience without teaching paralysis. A loss can teach risk management without teaching permanent fear. A successful decision can teach gratitude without teaching overconfidence. Your portfolio may change many times throughout your life. Markets may change. Technology may change. Your income, responsibilities, and financial goals may also change. But some decisions remain because they reveal how you behave when certainty disappears. So before the next investment decision, perhaps the most valuable question is not simply, how much could I make? It may be, if this decision is wrong, can I understand why I made it, withstand the consequence, learn from it, and still continue with clarity? That question connects finance with wisdom. May Lord Hanuman inspire the courage to face uncertainty, the discipline to manage risk, the humility to keep learning, and the inner strength to prevent fear, greed, regret, or ego from controlling decisions. Because the investment decisions that truly stay with you should not merely become memories of what the market did. With gratitude, wisdom, and self-mastery, they can become the decisions that gradually teach you how to become a better guardian of your own capital. Jai Hanuman.